Welcome to Messy Liberation, the podcast that dives deep into feminism, business, and personal growth. I'm Becky Mollenkamp.
And I'm Taina Brown. Get ready for another messy conversation through the eyes of two intersectional feminist coaches.
Let's get messy.
Hi.
Hi. I'm having you start us today. I always feel like I'm starting, and I don't want to always start. How are you? Yeah. That's a loaded question. Let's just skip right over that question. I'll go instead to, do you have snow yet?
We haven't had snow yet. It has gotten below freezing at night a few times so far, but no snow yet. But Mella's traveling this week, and she's in Tennessee, and she said they got a little bit of snow.
Yeah. We have snow in St. Louis. Probably, I'm looking like maybe 3 to 4 inches or so.
Wow.
And it's been in the 20s. Today's going to get back up over freezing, so all this is going to turn into slop. My favorite part of snow, like, ugh.
Yeah.
It's pretty right now, and then it's just going to get gross.
And then it gets gross. Yeah. Yeah.
But anyway, that's what's going on in my neck of the woods. How do you have a mess? Like,
I do have a mess.
Good. I love messes.
To talk about today.
What's your mess? What's your mess?
So this feels a bit vulnerable.
Good. I love the vulnerable messes.
I hate it.
I know. It's way more fun to be on this side of the vulnerable mess than the one who's sharing, because I have shared some of those as well. And it's just like, yeah, a little.
Yeah, I hate it. But here we go.
Here we go. I appreciate your.
So I have been feeling guilty. I've been feeling some guilt lately. So you know this, and people who may have been listening to us for a while know this as well. But if you're new here and you don't know this, I have a disability and suffered some really bad medical trauma last year that I'm still recovering from. I had the disability before the medical trauma. So one of the reasons why I started my own business was because of needing the flexibility to work around my disability. And then you add the medical trauma that I'm still recovering from almost 2 years later. And that need for flexibility has like exponentially grown. And so what my day-to-day looks like, it doesn't vary as much as it used to, but it's a lot more steady. But what that means, it's a lot more time of like, quote unquote, doing nothing. And just like resting. And so, my partner is the one who really is carrying the financial burden, and also the one who mostly takes care of the dog, and the one who mostly does the laundry and like just like house stuff. And I help out when I can. But she had surgery for her carpal tunnel about maybe 2 months ago now. And that kind of put her out of commission for a few weeks. And so I had to like do more than I normally do. And it wore me the fuck out so much. And it was mostly just driving her to appointments and like picking up after the dog and like doing all that stuff. And it wore me out so much that it was just like a slap in the face of how like limited my energy really is. Like I had gotten used to how steady things had felt for a long time. And before that, I was considering, I was like, well, maybe I should like go back to teaching part-time just to kind of carry some of the financial responsibility. But then after having to care for her a little bit after her surgery, I was just like, I don't know that I can do more than what I'm currently doing. One, that makes me feel guilty because I feel like I should be doing more. I hate that she has to do so much, but also like, I just hate not being able to do the things that I want to do.
Yeah.
It's really frustrating. Years ago when I was thinking about what I would want my life to look like, right? When you're thinking 5 years from now, 10 years from now, what I want my life to look like? What are my goals? What are my plans? Like this was never in the scope of what I imagined for myself. And so like having to deal with this reality of just being so limited in certain ways is really difficult. it's really difficult to navigate. It feels like this never-ending cycle of having to navigate it. Like, it doesn't even feel like it's one of those things where at some point you're like, okay, I got it. I'm good. Like, I've accepted this. And I don't know if that's just like a me thing or if that's just like the nature of like living with a disability. I don't know, but
Sounds
that's my
like
messy mess.
Sounds like at least so. But when my mom, when I had a miscarriage, was it that time? Yeah, I think so. Because I had a miscarriage fairly early. I mean, 10 weeks, but we had heard the heartbeat. We had had an ultrasound because of my geriatric age at the time. Like I got, we were having earlier interventions. So it wasn't as if it was not real, but it was still like, it wasn't like I was showing. We hadn't,
Yeah.
thanks for the nursery, whatever. And this was before the pregnancy I had right before my son. And I remember my mom said to me, because I was like, I don't know why this is hitting me so hard. It wasn't like the loss to me didn't feel real in some ways. It wasn't like I lost
Mhm.
knew I'd had time with or whatever. And my mom was like, well, grief isn't just about like the death of someone that you
Mm.
love. In many ways you could look at a miscarriage as the death of someone you love. But in my mind, it wasn't that. And she's like, grief is any time that things aren't as you expected them to be, right? And you
Yeah.
you had already projected out this life with this child, right? Of like, I'm gonna be spending the next months being sick, and then I'm gonna, paint
Mm.
the nursery, and then I'm gonna, like all the things you're already projecting out. And so whenever life doesn't go how you think it would, like there's that readjustment to the change in expectations is
Yeah.
really what grief is. And that sounds like kind of what you're talking about, right? Like you're
Yeah.
grieving what you thought, what you'd already pictured a life that looked a certain way. That's not happening. It's not possible, at least for now. And so like there's this sadness and stuff and all the things that we have in grief, anger and guilt and frustration and despair and all of that, denial, like all of those things are what you're like that's normal. I just think because we have such a limited view of what grief is in this
Yeah.
country,
Yeah.
we take that and make it be like, we just make people sort of say, get over it. And the same, like, we don't even let people have real time for grieving, like lost death of someone they dearly love, let alone these other less, clear ways of looking at grief. And so we internalize that feeling of why can't I just get over this? Like, what's wrong
Yeah.
with me? Why don't I just move on when we haven't actually given ourselves any time to process the grief. And so I wonder, like, how have you been giving yourself space, opportunity to grieve through this?
Yeah. I mean, I'm in therapy, right? So
Yeah.
like it comes
Which
up
is
in
great.
therapy sometimes, but I'm also just like that anger part of grief is
Mhm.
like so real that I'm just like,
Yeah.
I I don't want to be in therapy. Like every week right before my therapy appointment, I'm like the day before I'm like, should I cancel? Because I don't want to sit here and talk about this. I don't want to be in this space. And so, but I'm like, no, I know this is what I should be doing. So, regardless of how I feel right now or how I feel after the session, like I know this is like building towards something, like just consistently going. So, I don't cancel that often, but
Well,
yeah.
I'm not Buddhist per se. Although if I were going to say I aligned with I don't think of Buddhism truly as a religion. I think of it more as a life system and organizing principle
Mm.
for understanding life and stuff. But anyway, if I were going to align with any kind of belief system, it would probably be closest to that. And Buddha said, if you believe he was a real person, whatever, that the source of suffering, like life is suffering, and what suffering is basically the denial of what is. Right? Of
Mhm.
wanting things
Yeah.
to be other than they are. And like, Eckhart Tolle, whatever, all the many problems with white men and telling us about all these things. But mindfulness, presence is sort of the solution to that. And that doesn't make it easy, right?
Yeah.
But it sounds like the anger is like, because I feel it all the time. We just talked yesterday about my frustration that I have, and this might be my messiness too, trying to get my son to sleep every night. And, I love you guys. If you're listening, I love you so much. He may listen to this someday. I don't want him to think there's any way about him. It's my issues, my internal issues
Yeah.
of like being frustrated that it's not different, right? Like my mind is going, I shouldn't be spending this time this way. In my head, this time was supposed to look like this. Like, it's supposed to look like me cuddling up with my husband on the couch, or me listening to a book, or me right now writing a book, not having to just sit here in the dark counting the moments until you fall asleep.
Yeah.
Even though if I could get present, I could be like, you know what? There's actual gifts inside of this too. And you might actually be able to get to a place of saying there's gifts inside of this
Yeah.
that you can't yet see, but we're just so blinded, like in a way, by the anger at it not being
Yeah.
what we want it to be. And it's like, in those moments when I can get there, and I'm saying this as like, I'm not trying to tell you, just be more present, because like, fuck that. That's such bullshit. However, I will say in the moments when I can do that, which is not as often as I'd like it to be, but in those moments when I'm laying with my son and it starts to come, that same fucking message I have on just repeat. It shouldn't be like this. This is my time. This is not what it's supposed to look like, right? If I can get to a place where I can do my breathing techniques, do the things I need to do to try really be present in those moments when I can get there, everything shifts.
Yeah.
Right? Suddenly all of the anger's gone, frustration's gone, the like disappointment, all of it. And it's just like, I am just remembering like, this is life. This is what life is. It's this moment. It's every moment. It's not what I want it to be, or me trying to control it and contort it into something. And again, all that's easier said than done.
Yeah, for sure.
That's like the fucking work. And it feels like mental gymnastics. And I am no gymnast.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think there's also a part of me that's just like resisting that, because it's just, I just want my fucking life back. Like, I
Right?
want
Because
what I
it's like
want, and I want my life back.
Yeah, I get that too. Because it's like, now if I do that, then I'm accepting this as what is. And
Yeah.
I don't want this to be what is.
Yeah.
And still, there's that same tension, the source of suffering, which
Yeah.
is like the denial of what is and wanting what is to not be what is. And I don't know that, I mean, I don't think you're human. Because I mean, the idea that you transcend all of that, like then you're in nirvana and you're like some other level of Buddhist that none of us, like very few people ever are, right? I think the human response is like, it is that constant tension between knowing that dropping the resistance would change things, and also the like not wanting to drop the fucking resistance because I don't want to, that this is the new normal, even though that like fight doesn't serve me. It's hard to drop the fight.
Yeah.
Like, I feel it, Jane. I feel it for you.
Yeah.
I feel it for all of us, because no matter what the thing is you're dealing with, I think all of us can relate to that feeling of like, I don't want this to be the truth. And as soon as I accept this as my truth, then it feels like you're giving up agency in a way, right? Like, I'm giving up all of my potential control, my agency. It's surrender, but it feels like settling. Like, we're not good with distinguishing between those things. And surrender feels like failure, when surrender is actually the opposite of failure. It's in a way relinquishing this idea, that the lie that you had control to begin with, and the actual control is in saying, I'm letting go of that lie and being with what is. But that is so fucking hard to do. It's so hard.
Yeah, it is. It is. I think also in general, I just have like such high standards for myself that like surrendering, it definitely feels like settling. Like, it feels like settling so hard. And I'm just like, I just cannot settle for this. This is not good enough for what I envision for myself. But I mean, the truth is that like, I'm not the first and will not be the last person to have to live with a disability and have to surrender things and let go and learn how to manage the day-to-day ambiguity of what that fucking means. And so, yeah, it's a mind fuck. It's a mind fuck right now.
Sure is. And like, my brain wants to go into something that's not helpful, probably, because I can feel like it feels like toxic positivity, and that's not what I mean. But I'm wondering, is there an invitation, and maybe you're not there, and that's okay too, but to explore the gifts of what this is? Like, what are the gifts inside of this? And I know that that's challenging, because I feel that too. It's like, even just thinking about my same situation with my son, it's like, don't tell me it's a fucking gift that I have to give up. What did we calculate? It was like 12
10
days.
days, 20 days, 20 days a year.
It's like 365 hours a year minimum. So, I mean, we're talking a solid 2 weeks of my life every year for the last 9 years. So that's like 18 weeks, which is what? I mean, that's It's a lot. That's more than half
Yeah.
of a year of a person's life spent in what feels like the state of like purgatory, right? Again, Gus, I love you and the snuggles are amazing. And there's so much about it that is beautiful when I can get there. It's not about him, it's about me.
Yeah.
But yeah, like, can I though explore what are some of the gifts of this process? One is obviously just the opportunity to snuggle with my child who soon won't want anything to do with me. But there's also like the gift of slowing down,
Mm.
right? Releasing expectations on myself, right? Opting out of some of the capitalist urgency. Like there are the ability, the opportunities that it gives me for empathy and being able to relate with clients. And like there's things inside of that when I can get there, I can see there are gifts in it. But also like I don't want you to be like, I don't like, because I hate when people say like, "Let's look at the bright side," or "What's the good
Yeah.
part of this?"
What's the
Like, 'cause
silver lining?
right,
Yeah.
it's like, "Fuck that." You're not ready for that until you're ready for
Yeah.
that. I do think sometimes it helps me to try to somebody yesterday said, "Can't you just reframe it as, like" I don't remember what, but something that I was being honest, like, "No, I can't." Like, I think it was like, "Can you reframe this as, like, an opportunity to be with your kid or something?" And I'm like,
Mhm.
"No, if it was that easy, I would have done that." Like, I've tried a
Yeah. Yeah.
million times, and that just doesn't work. So, like, the toxic positivity thing doesn't is not an answer, but I do
Yeah.
think sometimes it can be a component of all of this of like,
Yeah. Yeah.
can I look
Yeah.
for those parts too to say, what are the gifts of this? Because it's really easy to not see any of them when you're in it, to just be like, there's nothing here that's positive. And it's
Yeah.
like, you're learning to receive. That's probably something that's really hard for you to do. And I would
Incredibly
imagine
difficult.
too that that's probably some ancestral stuff as well, right? Because
Yeah.
I think for many Black women, it's very difficult to receive because you've been in a position of like not being able to receive and being forced to give, right? Endlessly.
Mhm.
And so like receiving can be deeply uncomfortable. And so there's some like ancestral healing that might be happening too, right? There's a
Yeah.
battle, but there's
Yeah.
also some
Yeah.
healing. Like, I think there are things there that are beautiful gifts, but that doesn't change that it fucking sucks.
Yeah. Yeah. Um,
Can we hold
yeah.
both? Can we hold both the
We can hold both. We can
it
hold
fucking
both.
sucks and maybe there's some
Yeah.
gifts inside of it too?
It's called nuance. Yeah, we could hold
What's
both.
that? The mess. I know
Yeah.
that I was just as I'm writing this book, I've been rereading a lot of my old content and trying to figure out how like some of that will shape what goes into this book. And I was reading about an panic attack or anxiety attack. I wouldn't call it a panic attack because I've had those. It was more like an anxiety attack. Anyway, it doesn't
Mhm.
matter. But a couple of years ago when I was launching Feminist Founders podcast and like doing a ton of promotion, I just had really overwhelmed myself. I was rereading it and how vulnerable I was on the sharing about having to ask my husband for help and how challenging it was for me in that moment to be able to have to, and that was just like a solitary like moment. It wasn't like prolonged per se. I went and got
Mhm.
medication and made some changes that have helped. But I remember that feeling of having to like, it felt like failing and having to admit to my partner, I'm failing. I need you to do the things that I normally do because I can't hack it in this
Yeah.
moment, right? But I remember also reading, and I'm so glad I captured this moment. And maybe you can do some writing too to help. Because I'm really, as reflecting back on, I was like, my husband, might have forgotten if I hadn't written it down that he said, thank you. Thank you for telling me this, for being honest, being vulnerable.
Mm.
Thank you for allowing me to help because I have a tendency to not allow him to help. Thanks for allowing me to help. And I want you to care for yourself. Like it was received with gentleness, with love, and it helped me be able to accept that care that I don't normally allow for myself.
Mhm.
So anyway, I don't know. I'm sharing that only in that I know how hard it is because I
Yeah.
felt the failure like acutely. It felt like clearly I'm failing. Everyone's going to see that, right? My partner's going to come in here and be like, "Oh my God, I have to do it." But that wasn't how it was received at all. It was actually received as like this gift of me being able to allow him to care for me because I don't normally. So as much as it may be hard, and maybe there's some amount of mapping your own story onto your partner,
Mhm.
'cause we do that a lot, projection.
Yeah.
There may be some amount of like, from what I can tell about your partner, I think she probably likes being able to care for you.
She does. And actually, she said that yesterday or the day before while we were talking. She was like, as much as I love like you being this just like really strong boss person, like just always like taking care of things. Yeah, just like always like telling people what to do and stuff, which she loves when I tell her what to do until she hates when I tell her what to do. And
Well,
then
isn't
it's
that
like a
how
thing.
most of yeah.
It's either very good or very bad. But she was like, I really like it when you're soft and you let me take care of you. Like that's a different kind of experience. And so it's hard. It's hard. Like I've just
It's so hard to be that vulnerable.
yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, I just growing up also, like there was just so much I had to do to just like take care of things all the time. And so it's difficult to like let that go and I mean, I feel like I've gotten better at it, but I don't, I don't enjoy it. Fuck.
Mm.
Like, no, I don't.
Were you
I
a
don't want to be
parentified
that
child?
person. Hmm?
Or were you a parentified child, as they call
I
it in therapy?
was. I
And
was.
I had that experience as well. It makes me think of Benjamin Button. I don't know if you've ever seen the movie with Brad Pitt, or maybe it was a book. I have no idea. But this idea of like reverse aging, right? So
Mm-hmm.
he starts out as an old man and then ages backwards and dies a baby. Like it's a weird movie, but it makes me think of parentified child syndrome or whatever it is, where it's almost like you're in a way living in reverse, and now you're going backwards, and you've aged back to the place now where it's your turn to be cared for, because the time when you should have been cared for was robbed of you, and you
Mm.
had to show up as like the adult. It's like
Yeah.
now, after 40 something years, like now you're getting to be in that more youthful state where you're being cared for. And it feels weird because it's not the natural order of
Yeah.
things. It's
Yeah.
not what we think of as the natural order. And yet, for so many of us, that's the case. And what was maybe what was unnatural isn't what's happening now, but what happened in the beginning.
Yeah.
If we can honor that, we shouldn't have been parentified. We shouldn't have been giving in the way
Mm-hmm.
we were then. So this is almost like a make good in a way. If you could
Yeah.
allow it to be. Now it's your turn to be cared for because you didn't get that experience. And
Yeah.
can you allow yourself to be cared for?
Yeah. Yeah. It makes me think back to some of the work I did with my first therapist who was amazing. And this was like over 10 years ago, but we would often, she used a lot of like parts work and internal family systems during our sessions. And so a lot of times, like the question was like, you as an adult, like, what does looking at your inner child, like, what do they need right
Right.
now? Like, how can you as an adult provide for your inner child what they need that they maybe didn't get from the adults when you were actually a child, right? And so,
And I would only say, instead of, because we often frame that as like an opportunity to parent our inner child, right? And I think you've done enough parenting. And so the opportunity is, can you allow your inner child to receive the help she needs from
yeah,
outside of you,
yeah,
right? Because I think sometimes, and I'm guilty of this when I engage in some of that kind of, um, wo I don't wanna say work, because it's just mostly with friends and stuff, but when I engage in those kinds of conversations around, like, parts work, I know I will also often talk to people about parenting their inner child, and it's like, "Oh, what an
hmm,
opportunity to parent your inner child." And I think this is now occurring to me, like, sometimes that is probably really harmful, because the opportunity might be, like, in your case, and in my case too, because I'm also one of those parentified children, is the opportunity to say, "I don't have to parent at all."
yeah,
Can I allow myself to finally drop the parenting and say, "No, someone else do the parenting of me?" Can I allow that? Because I've never really had that in the and again, mom, if you're listening, that I love you, and it's not this is more like general and theoretical. Look at me feeling those needs to like still please and tend
still
to other.
parentify.
Yeah, right. But anyway, I wonder if maybe that's where the invitation is can you allow that inner child to
Yeah,
receive care, parenting, but care from someone other than you,
yeah,
you know?
yeah, yeah.
You've done enough laboring in that way.
I'm fucking tired.
Talking about it's also probably
It
best.
is. It's
Okay, how
exhausting.
about then for my messy part, we shift to it's not gonna be my mess, only because I don't really know right now. The only thing I was thinking about was sort of the sleep thing, but we've kind of talked about that. How about we do a little like I'll just tell you some of the trending stories online, and we'll just react to some of them, because I think they
Yeah, let's do it.
might be a little more fun. Because the number one thing is Trump sleeping during a cabinet meeting.
Yeah.
I know. Sleepy Joe Biden. How about sleepy Donald Trump? But the thing that I have to say is, here's my mess around it. I hate the man. That's clear. Okay. Don't agree with his politics. Don't like him as a human. I think he is horrible. I do say in a way it makes him more relatable, because I was watching some of the moments where he's falling asleep, like with Marco Rubio talking to him. And I'm like, if I had to sit in these cabinet meetings and listen to these people drone on about their bullshit, I
I'd be
think
asleep too.
yeah, I might start nodding off too. And not to mention that one of the reasons the man is sleeping is because he's up all night on social media, on his Trump social, or whatever the hell it's called, the Truth Social. And so he's up all night scrolling. And I can also relate to that. Not like last night was one of those nights I just couldn't get to sleep. And it was like 1:00. I'm still freaking playing games on my phone or whatever. And like, I need to go to sleep. And then I know today, come 2:00, 3:00, I'm going to be like starting to nod off because I made poor life choices, couldn't get to sleep, scrolled on my phone. It's probably going to get nice and warm because the heat's on. Like, so there's this part of me that's like, as much as I hate the man, it kind of makes him relatable.
Yeah, it does. I mean, it does make him relatable. Everyone's sat in on, whether it's a work meeting or just like sitting around with like a family or loved one or friend who just like drones on, and you're just like really tired. But I think it's also indicative of the fact that he can't fucking do his job.
Well, there is that. I say all that about how I am, and I'm not the president of the United States.
Yeah.
Like my job's pretty low stakes.
He can't sit through a cabinet meeting, which is fine. That doesn't mean he needs to be in office. Like, that doesn't mean he needs to be the commander in chief, right? Like, he's a tired old man. He should be retired. Like, let him go live in fucking Mar-a-Lago or wherever and like golf and sleep his days away, eating his Big Macs.
That would be, yeah. Wouldn't that be nice? So anyway, like I noticed there are other people on social media and podcasts I was listening to saying like, it does make him relatable, but also, yes, it's a pretty clear sign he's not fit to be president. And by the way, also the world's biggest hypocrite, which we see all the time. So this is not shocking news, but I mean, he was the one who was like the whole time, sleepy Joe Biden.
Yeah.
And he can't stay awake. And apparently also, just one last thing on it, him falling asleep came right on the heels in that same meeting where somebody in the press was sort of questioning his health fitness to be president, and he got all pissed off about it. I know, and then he starts falling asleep. So anyway. All right. So another one is R.F. Kuang. Do you know R.F. Kuang, who wrote Yellowface and Babel? Yeah. Apparently pulled out of, there was a literature festival that's supposed to be happening in the United Arab Emirates, UAE. R.F. Kuang, and I don't know who Samantha Shannon is, maybe you do, but they were both participating in that event. And R.F. Kuang's like work, a lot of it is around colonialism.
Yeah.
And I mean, anti-colonialism. And so it was very interesting for this writer to be participating in an event sponsored by people who are funding genocide, specifically Sudan, but other issues as well. And sort of not have the awareness and the understanding to make some of these links and say no, or to prove yet again the ways that capitalism is going to capitalism and money trumps values over and over again for people. So a lot of pushback on like just dropping out isn't quite enough. It's this accountability. And I don't know if you saw BD Wong got in some trouble on social media as well for making really I didn't see the joke, so I never saw the original problem. But apparently he made some sort of like he was trying to be funny. It was one of these like, what's the worst thing you can come up with kind of like thread, like reply. And I don't know exactly what it was, but it was something that in some way was like linking, I don't know if it was explicitly or more like hinted around, but like making some sort of comparison of Black folks or Black men, one or the other, to like monsters or animals or something, right? So like that's the general premise. I didn't fully, I never saw that, but I saw the pushback. And his accountability was the same thing we see again and again. And this is somebody who has leaned heavily on his own marginalized identities as an Asian man and as a gay man, and has sort of been out there talking about those things, and then shows up in this way. And then the accountability was real tepid, kind of one of these like, if I offended you kind of a thing.
Yeah.
And then got more and more pushback and was finally a little more explicit. All the white people show up on the comments saying, we love you, we forgive you. The apology was never for you. And apparently R.F. Kuang, from what I can tell from social media, maybe has also not done the best job with taking accountability. And so I just think as somebody with a lot of privilege, I want people to understand accountability is not just BD Wong removing the offensive post. That was the first thing he did, which is probably why I haven't been able to find it. So that was step one, wrong. We don't just like the accountability is not just let me quickly hide what I did. RF Kwong dropping out of this thing, BD Wong removing a post. It's not saying if I caused harm, I'm sorry, right? That's not accountability is here's what I did. This is why it was wrong. Here's what I'm going to do to fix this now, right? Moving forward, here's what I'm going to learn, who I'm going to learn from, specific actions that you're taking.
Yeah.
The accountability should also include some evidence at some point of those actions being taken and what you're learning, right? So we need to see growth. And that is just, I think people don't understand what accountability looks like.
Yeah.
Thoughts?
I have a little bit of a different take on that.
Good. I can't wait.
Yeah. So I don't know anything about the BD Wong thing or the RF Kwong thing. So I'm not speaking in particular to those two situations, but I think in general, when it comes to accountability, like I think it's a bit more nuanced than that based on like where you sit with your identity.
Okay. So I should also say clearly I'm speaking from a pretty privileged position. So that's what I think accountability for people with a lot of privilege should look like. But tell me where.
So like if you post something or you do so, like if you behave in a way that's harmful, then I think the accountability is higher, needs to be higher than if you are scheduled to be somewhere and then decide, oh, I'm not gonna do that anymore because I don't want to align myself with that, right? Like I think there's something to be said for considering the level of privilege that someone has, not just financial privilege, but racial privilege,
Identity privilege.
gender privilege, sexuality privilege, right? Like sometimes the level of accountability that is ideal is not possible for someone who has multiple layers of identity that intersect with oppression in multiple ways. And so I think blanket accountability measures or blanket asks or demands for accountability can sometimes be more harmful than helpful, depending on the circumstance, right? And so, like,
Nuance?
nuance, right?
What?
Like,
What's that?
accountability for someone like Donald Trump is going to look different than
Will it ever
accountability.
happen? But if it ever does, it
If
should
it
look
ever
different.
happens, then it might look like for someone like Roxanne Gay, right? Like, and so
Did Roxanne Gay do something wrong?
no,
Okay, thank God.
she just
I love Roxanne
popped up
Gay.
on my
Okay.
Instagram feed earlier today.
Let me take accountability for what I just said. Only to say, I just want to clarify, not in a defensive way, but that's why I preface what I was saying as like the person with, as somebody with a lot of privilege, I feel like I need to talk about what accountability looks like. And again, that meant, and I didn't explicitly say, for people with more privilege, right? Obviously, because it does matter. I'm curious, though. I know you don't know these situations specifically, but in the case of somebody like BD Wong, who does have, I mean, there are intersecting marginalizations for BD Wong, again, Asian and gay, at least those two that I know of, and that he has spoken very much about, like the ways some of those oppressions have shown up in his life. And male, cis, from what I understand, pretty wealthy, fame, like there's that kind of part around. Like, I don't know where the balance is in that, and again, and I think it looks different with RF Kwong, who then is, from what I understand, a woman. Also, I believe Asian, or I believe, not to speak, but not white, I know. Well known, right? Has a good deal of like success and prestige. Don't know if that translates into as much money, right? My guess is probably not.
Because publishing is different from TV.
We don't pay writers like we pay actors. So I'm sure BD Wong's probably got more money than RF Kwong. So in each case there are these, and this is the truth for all of us. Almost everyone has some marginalized identities and some oppressor identities. And like finding that balance is interesting. And when you think about how does that translate then into accountability, but you're right. I do think it does look different. I do think we can generally say it doesn't look like, if I offended you, I'm sorry. But I do think you have to take some amount, you're right, safety into account. So yeah, it's interesting. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. I think also with like just comparing in general the nature of like publishing versus like TV, like and acting, like it's harder to bounce back from being canceled as a writer than it is as an actor.
For sure.
So publishing is a really like being like a published author with like, you know, publishing house behind you and their marketing department behind you and all of that. Like, that's really hard to do, to get into, and to
Oh, sure.
stay in and to continue to get contracts.
And as a woman of color, which you can't overlook, and
Yeah. Yeah.
the fact that she's not writing like, not that there's anything wrong with smutty romance because it's great too, but not writing like more mass appeal kind of books.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
books
It's
are
very
talking about
genre
complicated,
specific.
yeah, and
Yeah. It's very
talking about
genre
like
specific.
anti-colonialism, which is not,
Yeah.
you know, something that most publishing houses are like, oh, this will sell millions.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Right. It's anti-colonialism masked as like fantasy, right? Which whereas like BD One will always have Law and Order
That
SVU,
money's
right?
that money's coming. That's right.
Like Olivia Benson is still on TV.
It doesn't even matter if you're not. They were making those shows. They signed their contracts in a very different time where people were getting residuals, and they still, I'm sure, are,
Yeah.
right. Like I'm sure they're doing okay. And that's not to say BD Wong is in any way like uber wealthy. I'm not saying that
Yeah.
he's like at billions, but I don't think he's not. That he's the choices he's making about what he does are
They
going
don't have
to
as much consequence.
whether he's going to be able to eat or feed his family.
Yeah.
Like I don't think
Yeah.
that's probably the case. So you're
Yeah.
right. Okay, let me shift to another one because this one's a little more lighthearted in a way. Although who knows, we'll make it probably heavier than that. But so
That's what we do.
Beyonce and Jay-Z went to the Brandy show because Brandy's out touring right now. I don't know if you saw Lovey got into some trouble around the Brandy concert as well. I don't know if you know Lovey, but Lovey Ajayi had not long ago got upset because Brandy came out, I think sang like one or two songs and then left because she wasn't feeling well, and Lovey was getting on like the marketing team didn't handle it well or whatever, and then people got mad at her and like you can't be a person talking about how we have to take care of ourselves and then get upset when a black woman leaves the stage and says I need to take care of myself, right?
Yeah.
So there was that scandal already around the Brandy concerts. Well, she's still touring, and now Jay-Z and Beyonce went to see the show apparently, and Ray J, Brandy's much
Brother.
very troubled brother, went to social media to get pissed because Beyonce, I don't know, to raise a little stink that Beyonce and Jay-Z did not come say hi to Brandy or in any way engage with Brandy when they went to the show. And he was sort of like, you know, just come say hi. Like, you know, and he was quick to say like, Brandy didn't say anything to me about this. She's not mad or whatever. I'm here because I'm pissed off about it.
Mm-hmm.
And I just think it's really interesting. One, to use your platform to air those kind of grievances. Two, the sibling issues involved, because I know what it's like to have had a sibling who is maybe not wired the same way as you.
Yeah.
And then out there, like, you don't want necessarily people saying, please don't judge me by him. And then also these expectations of how other people are supposed to show up when it's like, maybe they just wanted to go to a show and not have to like perform themselves. And so anyway, I just thought the whole thing was very like, it's very interesting.
Yeah. Yeah. It is interesting. I don't know how I feel about that actually. I have conflicting feelings.
Well, then let's share the messy feelings.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, they should have said hi, and part of you is like,
a part of me is like, they should have said hi, right?
Yeah.
Like, I
I
think
can get behind that.
I think in like Black culture and like non-white cultures, like it's a thing when you go, when you say hi, like that's like, you don't ever not say hi. Like it's a bit offensive to do that sometimes. But I think also there's just the added layer of just who Beyonce and Jay-Z are. Like they just do their own thing. They've never, ever like confined themselves to any kind of expectations by anyone else. And so they always set their own rules for everything. And so there's also that. And so there's a part of me that's just like, well, what did you expect?
Right.
But
And I think part of his argument was like, hey, we look up to you, and like, how hard is it to know and honor that, and to like kind of like in a way kind of give people a little, like use that
yeah.
to some.
Yeah.
I mean, there's also a whole lot of like it's pretty unfucking relatable.
Yeah.
There's
It's also
also that
that.
piece
It's
of
like, I will never know what that feels like.
oh, I got snubbed by Beyonce. Like, there's a part of me too. This is like, it's like rich people problems. You know what I mean? Like when they start, don't use a public platform to come and complain about something that most people are like,
Yeah.
can't relate, dude. You know what I mean? There's also a little bit of that, but
Yeah.
I just thought it was kind of funny and
Yeah.
interesting. And
I think also as someone who, because I I said in Black cultures and a lot of non-white cultures, like you say hi, like you never just pretend like you didn't see someone or whatever. But I am that person. Like if I see you in the store, I'll just pretend I haven't seen you because I hate saying hi.
not only do I pretend I haven't seen you, of course I am white, so this is maybe different, but I actively hope that you don't see me.
Yes.
I'm like, please God, I don't want to engage with
I will
anyone.
avoid going to the store if I feel like I'm going to bump into someone. But I think what for someone like me, what I would do is send flowers, right? To congratulate her on the
At
show.
least
Like
send a
something,
text.
huh?
At least send a text.
Yeah, like some kind of acknowledgement that doesn't involve interpersonal, like, like being face to face is something like it's an alternative thing that I would do as opposed to like walking up to someone and saying hi. Like I might not acknowledge you in the grocery store, but I'll text you after and be like, "Hey, saw you in the grocery store, but was kind of in a rush. Hope you're doing okay."
And listen, I have never bought into the bullshit. We all have the same 24 hours as Beyonce nonsense, right?
We don't.
And Beyonce is a human. Jay-Z is a human. Like they are still humans. They may have very different privileges and things that we can't even remotely understand as billionaires, but they are still humans who probably get tired, who just want to check out sometimes, who want to have a romantic evening together. Like there is this part of me that when I can check into the humanity part of it, that I'm like, you put expectations on people on how they're supposed to behave.
Yeah.
I hate it when people do that to me. Like maybe you don't know what I'm going through in my life. Like maybe that night, I mean, not that this is in no way true. And I'm not trying to, not like we have the power to start wild Beyonce rumors, but like maybe she had a miscarriage the day before or something. Like we don't know what's going on in someone's life.
Happening. Yeah.
Right. And then to publicly blast someone, because like taking it down to a level we can't understand. If you and if I was out we were at the grocery store and I saw you and I had been going through something really heavy and I knew having a conversation with you was going to like be the thing that would just put me over and I wouldn't be able to function the rest of the day because it would unleash all the tears or whatever, right? Like, and I ignored you. And then I later heard you were out telling people, can you believe, not just people, but like showing up in community platforms we share together, publicly blasting me without saying, hey, Becky, were you okay? Or like, I saw you and it felt like maybe whatever. You just publicly blast me like, that shit sucks. So like in the humanity part of it, and when I tap into that, instead of just looking at Beyonce as like this billionaire, whatever, I'm like there is a party that feels for them. Like, put them on blast because maybe they were having a tough night or they just wanted to check out and spend a little time together and don't want to have to be like showing up and going out of their way to go knock on the doors in the back and like, because that adds a lot. You gotta like, their lives don't look like ours. Like they have security and they have to worry about every person coming up to them, and every additional step they take in their lives is probably another 400 people who are trying to glom onto them and take from them, extract from them. So yeah, I don't know. But also,
I think that was an immature move to like put it on social media like that. Like that was.
You mean Ray J was immature? I didn't know Ray J could be immature. there's that part. I know, and I do. That's the part that honestly, the biggest thing that I feel more, even for Beyonce, like because of my own experiences with my brother, I think my thing went to Brandy of like, she's just got to be sitting there rolling her eyes, like, why the fuck are you causing problems with Beyonce with me? Like, I don't need. Ray J, like, leave me alone. I love you, but like, come on. So anyway, okay. And the last thing is today is Spotify Wrapped Day. So by the time this comes out, it is 2 days old. Today's the day. So you're gonna have your social media for the next few days flooded with everyone's Spotify Wrapped. Here's my thoughts. Only that, well, one, Spotify has been running ICE ads. So there's a lot of people who have given up on Spotify. I never have paid for premium, so I don't use Spotify all that much. I use Apple Music mostly just because I'm in the Apple ecosystem so much. And then I also am an Amazon Prime member. Not that that's any better than Spotify, but so I get Prime Music. So I listen on other platforms. So my biggest thing when Spotify Wrapped comes out is I have like the worst FOMO and like just this feeling of like, oh, look at everybody's things. But if I go to mine, it's all like kids bot because my kid listens to it and I don't. And I just feel left out. So that's how
Yeah,
I
I
feel about
think that's
Spotify.
the point of it,
Of
right?
course it is.
To
And
create
it
this like
works.
exclusive experience. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it is really a smart marketing tool.
It's
How do
fun.
we
I will say it's fun.
how
Last
do we
year
translate
or
that for
maybe
our
the year
business?
before. Yeah. One year, I think like the first or second year when they started doing it, like my Wrapped, it was hilarious because it was like my mellow, I snooze a lot in the mornings. And so my alarm would go off and I'd snooze and Mellow would turn on my Spotify to like the Wicked soundtrack at like full blast to like wake me up. And then it was that and like random like classical music or something. So like my Spotify Wrapped was like the most boring thing ever. It was all
Yeah, and then
just
you don't
like,
wanna share it because it's not cool.
no, of
Like,
course
it's
not.
that
Of
part
course
too where it's
not.
like, is my Spotify Wrapped cool enough to share? And like, I just am like,
I was like, this is so stupid. Like I
it is.
feel like an idiot.
It is so stupid. And can't you feel what it does to you of like, I want to
Yeah.
participate. I want to be cool. I can feel all of that come up. So it is a
Yeah.
brilliant marketing tool.
Yeah.
And it does feel like I was just watching a thing on Threads this morning. Some woman, I don't know who she is. She was young, but she was talking about social media and the ways that what's it called? But where it's like it functions in the same way that casinos set up like um slot machines. So it's like this,
Mhm.
it's random something. I can't remember the name of it. But the whole idea being like, sometimes you're going to log into social media and it's going to be nothing. But every once in a while, you get that thing that feels like the win, like the hit, like the
Mhm.
Spotify Wrapped is like that thing. And it's like
Yeah.
it's the manipulative ways that they pull us in and steal our attention. And it's like cool. And it's a neat idea. And there's this part of me that's like, and it feels like emotional manipulation. Like it feels like
Yeah.
full on manipulative tool.
And I will say it also can feel like being part of a community. Like, because
Yes.
when I see other people that I already engage with posting their raps, and when I post my rap, it's a way for us to connect. So it's not necessarily helping me build community with people I don't already know, but it's a way to continue to connect with people that I do already know and that I do engage with. And so I think it's both and. And so, yes, it's
What?
Spotify. Surprise, surprise. Yes, Spotify is problematic, and yes, it is a marketing ploy, and it's meant to create FOMO and create subscribers and all of that. It can also be a little random moment of connection and joy among people who already are connected.
Yeah, because there is this other part of me that too, and I haven't really looked yet because I just saw that it's Spotify Wrap Day. So like I think it like within the hours you will be flooded, I'm sure. I haven't yet seen a bunch of them coming out. But I'm also waiting for that inevitable left-wing backlash that is out there now too of the people who are policing other people's liberation efforts of like
Hmm.
this idea that it needs to be perfect. So if you dare admit I ordered something on Amazon, if you dare say, here's my Spotify Wrap, which means I listened to Spotify this year, or whatever the things are, you will inevitably have those people coming along who are going to then challenge you and say, well, you suck, right?
Yeah.
You're not really doing the things you say. And where are your values? Where's your ethics and whatever? And that part gets frustrating too, because it's like, we were talking about tools yesterday, tech tools, and it's just like anything owned by corporate entities is inherently going to have unethical aspects to it, and you can't
Hmm.
escape it. And so,
Yeah.
yeah, there is that part too that's going to
It's
happen.
the air that we breathe, right?
Exactly. Unless you're going to
It's the
stop
air.
breathing.
Yeah. Yeah. There's no ethical consumption under
Yeah.
capitalism.
But it'll be interesting to see this year. I think there may be a little hesitation amongst some people to share their Wrapped this year
Mm.
for that fear of, am
Yeah.
I going to be quote unquote canceled? Am I going to have people pushing back on me? And how do I
Yeah.
deal with it? Going back to some of the like accountability stuff of people also, part of the reason I think people don't want to make actually do quality accountability is because they get afraid that they're gonna
Yeah.
like it's easier to just delete the post and hope nobody saw it and it goes
Yeah.
away than to have to deal with it the backlash you'll get when you do show up and actually take real accountability, because there will be the people who will say it's not good enough, you didn't do it right, how dare you, I'll never forgive you. And that stuff's hard. And so it's in some ways it's easier just to opt out. So we'll
Yeah.
see how many people share their Spotify Wrapped this year.
I will be sharing mine. So if you're listening or
Oh,
watching and want
you
to
want to
know
see
what
a,
I've been listening to this year,
a
it's
random mix of
definitely more than
classical and
just
wicked?
definitely more than just the Wicked musical soundtrack and classical
Better this
music.
year? Do you feel like
It's better this year.
you'll be a little more like proud to share? Like it feels
Yeah.
a little more, yeah. I always worry too, because I tend to, my ADHD, I think I tend to hyperfixate. So I will listen to one song like 70 times. And so like for a while this year, I think it was Post Malone Landmine. I don't know why. Just fucking love the song and I listened to it
Random.
endlessly. So like I will suddenly be the Post Malone biggest fan or something. And I'm like, that's not really representative of the kind of, like, I listened to literally a Post Malone song, but I happen to listen to it so many times. It might have been the song I listened to the most. And now I'm gonna be like, people are gonna think I'm like a Post Malone groupie. And truthfully, I don't think I can name any of his other songs. Maybe one.
Wow.
But yeah, I don't know him, right? So anyway, I
Yeah.
always think, is this gonna like, I wonder what story it tells about us, and how truthful is the
Yeah.
story? So it's
Yeah.
interesting.
Yeah. A lot of
Anyway.
my listening lately is I have like playlists for when I'm writing, and then I create playlists for certain things that I've read that I really enjoyed. And so, but it's a lot of the same type of music, and so with
What is
some
the playlist?
variants.
I get the writing, and that usually for most people is something that's a little more mellow, a little bit quieter because you want to focus. What do you mean by the playlist for the things you've been reading that you really liked?
So in the fanfic world, there's this thing called Fanfic Friday, where you share either something you've written or something you've read that you really enjoy. And so what I started doing was sharing fics that I've read that I've enjoyed and creating a playlist that of music that matches the vibe of that fic. So if
Interesting.
it's like a lighthearted fic that's like really fun and has a lot of humor, then the music will be lighter. If it's like a darker fic with like heavy angst or war themes, then the music is a little bit darker. If it's a smutty fic, then it's very sexy music.
Very interesting, Taina. That makes me want to start a whole new podcast with you, which is ridiculous because we could just do it here. But I love
We
that
just do
idea.
it here. Yeah.
I think what would be fun is like it's to share maybe we should share our favorite reads of 2026.
Mm.
Our 2025, I mean, like that could be one of our things that we do this month, wrap up the year. What did you read this year? Maybe pick your favorite three books or something like that. And then, but the way we could talk about it is instead of describing the book, say like, what are the songs that would make someone
Yeah.
understand the book? Like that could be kind of fun for us to do.
Yeah.
How
Yeah.
about we do
Yeah.
that?
Yeah. We can do that for sure. We can do that.
Because you
I
already
do
have your
that a
playlist.
lot.
For you, it'll be easy. I have to like retrain
Yeah.
my brain to think this way,
It's a
but
lot of
I'm
fun.
intrigued.
I
Yeah.
love music. Like I love using music as like a backdrop for a lot of different things. And so like when I'm hosting a dinner party, like I pay very special attention to the music that I curate for that specific event. And so I was the person who would make mixtapes or mix CDs for
Oh
friends.
my God, Taina. I'm old enough, and I don't know if you are, but my mixtapes were back in the day where I had to put the tape into the record,
Yep.
into the CD player, and catch it on the radio.
Yeah. Yeah.
You'd
And
be like,
press record.
oh,
Yeah.
there it is. I
Yeah.
got it. And you
Yeah.
would have a
And try
little
to
bit of
catch it
the DJ,
before the DJ comes back on. Yeah. Yeah.
and you'd have a little bit of the DJ at the beginning. So you'd be like, you'd hear, and then you go into the song at the end, you'd be like, and you'd be going, I gotta stop it.
Yeah.
So yes, I
Yeah.
love mixtapes. And then I moved into mixed CDs and now, into playlists. So I have a
Yeah.
similar thing, but I've never done it with books. And my brain's spinning of like some of the books I've listened to because I'm like,
It's a lot of
yeah,
fun.
this is fun. I love this idea. So we're
It's a
going to
lot
do
of
that
fun.
soon. Okay. All right. We have to go. This one's gone long. How are you feeling?
I'm glad we ended on that note because I was feeling really heavy.
I was wondering, but I wondered if because I also think just the reminder for people, start a podcast with somebody you enjoy having conversations with, because I do find I can come into conversations feeling a certain way and feeling heavy or whatever. And then just being able to be in conversation to talk about the thing, but then also have some
Mhm.
fun time about I feel like I often leave our conversations, my conversations with Faith, whoever, I feel like I leave that feeling some lightening of the load that I was carrying
Yeah.
because I was carrying it alone, and just being in space with others helps me. So I just was wondering if that is true for you at all.
Yeah, no, it is. It definitely is. Thank you for holding space for me today.
Well, sure. And everyone go do the same thing and then turn it into a podcast because it's fun.
And make a
All right.
playlist for it.
There you go. And then join the Feminist Podcasters Collective. All right. Talk to you soon.
Thanks for listening to Messy Liberation.
Thank you so much for your support and for listening today.
Until next time.